Welcome to the Right Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Williams, best-selling romance author, book coach, and founder of Serenade Publishing. I've been an avid reader ever since I could hold a book, and I've spent a decade immersed in the world of writing, editing, and publishing fiction. I know firsthand what it takes to turn a love of storytelling into a sustainable, soul-aligned author career. Each week, I share real talk about writing fiction, marketing smarter, and staying inspired, along with up-to-date industry insights and the strategies that are working right now. You'll also hear from fellow authors, editors, and industry experts who are out there doing the work and making waves. Here, we put the woo in the work of writing, publishing, and growing your author business. Think of this as your creative business pep talk, packed with heart, hustle, and a little bit of magic. So get cozy and join me. Your writing journey starts now. Hey Scribe, Sarah here. I've been coaching a lot of authors in my private mentoring program, the Author CEO, recently, and I've been reflecting back on how I started my business 10 years ago. My 10th novel comes out this month. I've built Serenade Publishing from the ground up. I've coached and mentored many authors through their journeys as well. And in this episode, I'm going to be honest with you about all of it. The things I got right from the start, the one thing I got wrong, not because I didn't want to do it, but because I couldn't find what I was looking for, and what I did instead for years that almost worked, but not quite enough. This isn't a regret episode. It's a here's what I actually know and here's why I built what I built episode. And I think it might be one of the most useful things I've shared on this podcast. And when I look back, honestly, at how I built my own career, I actually got most of it right. I made deliberate publishing decisions. I built my reader relationship early. I protected the craft while learning the business. But there's one thing I didn't have. Not because I didn't understand its value, because I couldn't find it. And that gap, what it cost me, what I did instead, and what I eventually understood I'd been missing is the reason the Author CEO Mentorship exists. That's what today is about, so let's get into it. Here's something I see constantly in the authors I work with. And I'm going to name it directly because I think you can handle it and because I think it might be one of the most useful things you hear today. Most authors, when I ask them who their reader is, give me an answer. They have something ready, it sounds considered, and almost every time what they give me is themselves. Not literally, but effectively. They describe a reader who loves the same things they love, who wants from a book exactly what they want from a book, who responds to the same emotional beats, the same tropes, the same pacing, and they've been calling that a target audience. It isn't. It's a mirror. And I say that with complete respect because writing from your own passion and your own taste is how you start. It's actually how you should start. But at some point, if you want to build a career rather than just a writing practice, you have to make a shift. You have to move from, I'm writing the book I want to read, to, I deeply understand the reader who needs to read this, and I'm building the experience they're looking for. Those are two different creative acts, and the second one is where the careers are made. Here's what it looks like in practice when this shift hasn't happened yet. The author is writing consistently. She's finishing books. She might even be publishing them. But there's a gap between the work and the reader that she can feel but can't quite name. The books feel good to her, and they are good, but they're not connecting the way she hoped. Reviews are sparse. Word of mouth isn't spreading. She's working hard and still feels like she's writing into silence. And when I ask her to describe her reader in specific terms, not the genre, not the demographics, but the emotional life of the person who needs her books, she goes quiet. Because she hasn't been asked that before. And she realizes in that quiet that she doesn't actually know. That's the moment everything can change. Because once you understand your reader, really understand them, not just what they read, but why they read it, what they're carrying when they're picking up your book, what they need the story to give them, every decision you make as an author gets sharper. The tropes you choose, the emotional arc you build toward, the promise your cover makes before they read a single word, the way you talk about your books online. I understood this early. It shaped everything, and it's the first thing I'll tell any author to get clear on before they do anything else. Publishing path decisions are the ones I see authors get most wrong. Not because they're careless, because no one has given them a proper framework for making them. You look around, you see what's working for other authors, you hear advice in Facebook groups and writing communities, and without a strategic framework of your own, you start making decisions by osmosis, by proximity, by she did it that way and it seemed to work. The problem is that her goals aren't your goals. Her genre isn't your genre. Her reader, her timeline, her appetite for creative control, none of it is yours. A publishing path that's perfect for her career can be genuinely wrong for yours. What I'd tell any author facing these decisions is this: before you make any significant publishing choice, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. What do I actually want my author career to look like? Not what looks impressive, not what's working for someone I admire. What do I genuinely want? 2. What does this specific decision mean for my income, my rights, and my future options? Not just right now, but in 3 years. And 3. Am I making this decision from real information or from borrowed advice and a deadline? Publishing decisions compound. A choice you make about your first book affects your second, your third, and how your catalogue looks 5 years from now. They deserve more than a gut feeling and a Facebook thread. Building your relationship early. If there's one decision I'm genuinely glad I made early, one I'd make again without hesitation, it's this one. I started building my direct reader relationship before I felt like I had enough of an audience to bother. Before I had the follow accounts that made it feel worth it, before most people would have told me to prioritize it. And I'm so glad I did. Here's what I want you to understand about your newsletter. Every platform you show up on, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever, you're building on borrowed land. The algorithm changes, the platform shifts, the reach disappears overnight for reasons you have no control over. Your newsletter is the one thing you own, a direct line to readers who have already said yes to you, who want to hear from you, who are not dependent on an algorithm deciding to show them your content. They asked for it. And the compound effect of building that from book 1 is extraordinary. By the time you have a backlist, you also have readers who have been with you the whole time, who remember your first book, who, when you send them an email saying, "My new book is out," don't need to be convinced. They've been waiting. Start now, even if you only have 12 subscribers, especially if you only have 12 subscribers. Those 12 people chose you on purpose. That matters more than you think. Strategic one-on-one mentorship. I want to be clear about something before I go into this because I think it changes the whole shape of what I'm about to say. I actually did most of the things I've talked about today: the reader clarity, the deliberate publishing decisions, the early newsletter. Those weren't gaps for me. They were things I understood, mattered, and prioritized accordingly. But there's one thing I didn't have, and not because I didn't want it. I couldn't find it. I was actively looking for someone I could work with one-on-one, Someone who understood the publishing industry from the inside, not just the theory of it, but the actual mechanics of how books reach readers and how careers are built. Someone who could look at my specific work, my specific goals, my specific situation, and give me guidance that was actually tailored to me. I genuinely looked, and I couldn't find that person. Not in a format that worked, not at the right time. So I did what a lot of us do. I turned to podcasts. I learned from Joanna Penn, whose work I still respect enormously, and who I was actually lucky enough to have on this podcast recently, which was a full circle moment I didn't take lightly. I learned from other hosts and guests who were generous with what they knew, and I absorbed an enormous amount. I really did. But here's the thing about learning from podcasts, as valuable as they are. And I say this as someone who now hosts one, so I mean it with complete self-awareness. The information is general. It has to be. A podcast speaks to thousands of people at once, which means it can't speak to you specifically. It can't know your books. It can't know your genre, your goals, your situation, your particular combination of strengths and blind spots. It gives you frameworks and principles and ideas, and those are genuinely valuable. But it can't tell you whether those frameworks apply to your circumstances. I could absorb the information. What I couldn't do was apply it with any real certainty, because there was no one to help me bridge the gap between the general and the specific. No thinking partner to sit with me in real time and work through a decision. Someone who actually knew my work, who could ask the question that reframed everything, who could say, yes, this applies to you and here's how. Or, actually, wait, your situation is different. Let's think about this differently. That gap is subtle. It doesn't announce itself. You don't necessarily feel it as a gap in the moment. You feel it as a vague uncertainty that sits underneath your decisions, as strategies you build and then second guess, as the low hum of, I think this is right, but I'm not entirely sure, that follows you from one publishing choice to the next. And what I now know, from sitting on the other side of this, from being the person authors come to when they can't find what they need, is that a thinking partner isn't a luxury. It's the specific thing that changes the quality of your decisions. Not because they have found information you don't. You probably have plenty of information, but because they can help you work through what that information means for you specifically in real time. Because they can hold the strategic view when you're too close to the work to see it clearly. Because sometimes the most valuable thing is not being told what to do, it's having someone think alongside you while you figure it out. That's what I needed and couldn't find, and it's exactly what I built the Author CEO Mentorship to be. Not a course, not a group program where you're one of 20 and the advice has to fit everyone. One-on-one, built entirely around you and your books and where you're genuinely trying to go. A real thinking partnership for the full 4 months. I built the thing I was looking for because I knew what it felt like to need it and not to be able to find it, and I didn't want that to be anyone else's story. I don't want to leave you with the impression that I'd rewrite my whole career. I wouldn't. There are things I'd do the same without a second hesitation, and I think it's worth naming them, because wisdom isn't just knowing what to change, it's knowing what to protect. I would still have started, imperfectly, without all the answers, before I felt ready, because starting is the only way. Every author I admire started before they were ready. Readiness is a myth we tell ourselves when we're afraid. The only thing that actually makes you ready is doing the thing. I would still have taken the writing deeply seriously. Strategy serves great writing. It doesn't replace it. Every investment I've made in understanding my craft, in reading widely and deeply, and pushing my storytelling to be better than the last book, that was never wasted time. The business stuff compounds, but it only compounds if the writing is genuinely good. Protect the craft. The writing life is richer with other writers in it. The community I've built, the authors I've connected with, the relationships that have outlasted any single book or launch, that has been one of the great unexpected gifts of this career. I'd build that even earlier next time. And I would still have believed in the work, even on days when nothing was moving, even when it felt like I was building something in the dark. The belief that this mattered, that stories matter, that what I was building was real, that's what kept me here long enough for the strategy to have somewhere to go. You can learn strategy. You can build the infrastructure. You can get clear on your reader and choose your publishing path deliberately and build your newsletter from day one and find the thinking partner you need. But the belief has to come from you. And if you have it, and I think you do, or you wouldn't be here, don't let anyone talk you out of it. Not the slow launches, not the quiet months, not the voice in your head that wonders if you're taking up too much space with the stream. You're not. You're building something, and that always takes longer than anyone tells you it will. So here's what I actually know after 10 books and a publishing company and many authors mentored through their journeys. Get clear on your reader before you write the book. Not as a marketing task, but as a foundation everything else gets built on. Make your publishing decisions deliberately with real information, not borrowed advice. Build your direct reader relationship from day one because that compounding effect is real and it's worth starting before you feel ready. And find a thinking partner, someone who actually knows your work and can sit with you in real time as you figure out what to do with it. That last one took me longer than the others, not because I didn't understand its value, because I couldn't find it when I needed it. So I built it. The Author CEO private mentorship is 4 months, one-on-one, built entirely around your books and your career and where you genuinely want to go. It's the thinking partnership I was looking for and couldn't find, and it's the most intimate way I work with authors for exactly that reason. Applications are now open. The link is in the show notes. It takes about 5 minutes to fill in the application. I read every single one personally, and the conversation that follows is honest and completely pressure-free. You've already done the hard part. You showed up for the writing. You kept going when it was quiet. You're here, still building. Let's make sure everything you've already created goes somewhere. Let's give it the thinking partner it deserves. I'll see you next week on the Right Podcast. Thanks so much for listening to the Right Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean the world if you'd leave a review and share the show with your writer friends. It helps more creatives find their way to us. And don't forget to follow Serenade Publishing on Instagram and TikTok for more writing tips, publishing advice, and exciting events to keep you inspired. Keep writing, keep dreaming, and know that I'm here to support you every word of the way.